Big hand to Tim Karpisek from Rock.
Hello.
Welcome. Tim,
Thank you.
the stage is yours. There is the computer, there is the beeper, or what you call it.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you.
7. It's probably a bit weird way to start off a presentation, to give you the number 7 without giving any context about it. It could represent a lot of things. When you're into soccer, it could represent the back number of Cristiano Ronaldo. Or it could remind you of the 7 C's, or the 7 beauties of the human being. Or even religion, 7 is a lucky number, which combines 3 and 4, which are sacred numbers. Now, unfortunately, in market automation, the number 7 is not a positive number. Because the number 7, it represents 7%. And 7% is the answer to the question that was asked in a Smart Insight survey. And it was a combination of 2 questions. Who here did a market automation project and it went smooth? And with who it delivered the results that they expected to? And only 7% of the respondents said it went smooth and it delivered results, which means that 93% of all the implementations from market automation, they experience problems. Technically, from data point, from AI point, from revenue, from conversion, somewhere along the way, people are experiencing problems. And for me, I thought, well, that could be a good idea to do a presentation about. Let's talk about not the wins or what you can do with market automation. Let's talk about the challenges and let's talk about the mistakes. And the presentation that I'm going to give you today is going to be about my own experience. Because in Belgium, I manage an agency called Raak. Raak is a Dutch word. It means hit, for you, so you know. And at Raak, we focus on 2 things. We focus on inbound marketing and market automation. And in my opinion, I have the coolest job at Raak. At Raak, I do client strategy. And I do client strategy for all types of clients. We work for global brands, we work for local brands, B2B players, B2C players, small companies, large companies, companies who are getting started with market automation or very advanced in market automation. So I get to talk to all of these different brands and get all the different angles when talking about market automation. And the funny part is when we talk about the challenges, we see that often it doesn't matter the size of the company or how advanced you are in market automation, the challenges are always the same. And I've packed together all of these challenges in this presentation. Now, I'm not only going to talk about the challenges, I'm also going to try to give you a solution or an answer to how do you make sure that those challenges or those issues don't happen at your brand. But to get started, before I go into challenges, I'm going to start off with probably the most difficult question in market automation. A question that I ask every time we need a new client. I ask them, what is marketing automation? And every time that I ask this question about what is marketing automation, I get all of new ideas, all of new answers. Sometimes I get something very theoretical about data and AI and algorithms. Sometimes I get a fluffy answer. Sometimes I get something completely different. And probably when later on we drink a coffee after this workshop, and when I ask you what is marketing automation, I will still get a different answer about this one. And I thought, okay, how can we make the definition of market automation super simple? So simple that when you go to the office tomorrow or you meet your relatives in a weekend or something like that, and they ask you what the hell is market automation, that you can answer to them. And the easiest way that I can explain market automation is by using these 2 dots. Whereas the dot on your lower left side, the purple one, that is your starting point. That is where you're right now. This is your situation as a marketeer. It could be your database, it could be your market automation platform, it could be your challenge. Whatever your starting point is unique for you. And on your upper right top, you see the blue dot. That is your goal. That is what you want to reach as a marketeer. Brand awareness, conversions, ROI, name it, it's unique for you. And what we need to do as a marketeer, we need to go from our starting point, we need to go to our goal. And now for the second part of this, I need somebody to give me a small hand in the audience who is a really good aimer. Who can aim really good? If nobody raises hand, I will pick somebody out. Could you help me on this one? Sure, okay. So this, you just press here, you see the laser, okay? Okay. So what I'm gonna ask you to do right now is, as a marketeer, I'm gonna ask you to point the laser on the purple dot. So we're at the starting point right now. And what do we want to do as a marketeer? We want to start to reach our goal. But as a marketeer, we don't know what's coming out at us. So what I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, of course. Okay? And when you think you're ready, try to go and reach your goal. Yeah. Okay, open your eyes, keep it there, keep it there. Okay, that's quite a good shot. Most I've seen this in presentations, it go all the way out. All right, close your eyes again, try to reach your goal again. Third try. We're going for a record here. 4 times? Yeah, okay, fine. Super. Applause, yeah. Thank you. I will take it back later. This is what marketing automation is about. And if I compare it to simple campaigning, campaigning looks like this. Campaigning looks like we have a starting point, we want to reach our goal, we send out a lot of campaigns, 99% will deflect, maybe 1% will reach our target audience. And I challenge it quite good. Marketing automation is this. 4 times, quite similar, so it was lucky on this one. We do a campaign, we look at the campaign, we see the data, we analyze the data, we try to make our next campaign a little bit better, we send it out, we analyze the data, make it better, and try to reach our target audience. And the process going from your starting point to your goal, that is the automated process. For me, that's marketing automation, the simplest way you can explain it. And if I can take the definition a little bit further, I think there are 3 types of automation. First, there's process automation. And process automation for me is automating the process of creating marketing campaigns. And I'm just going to give you a simple example from email marketing. In email marketing, we create a marketing campaign, you do the content, you design, you put it in HTML, take the HTML, put it in email content, an email system, you send it out, and it's done. If we want to automate the process of email marketing, we could say, okay, the data which is stored in a content management system is automatically transferred to a template in automation flow where it's already ready. We try to automate the process of creating campaigns and creating more time and resources. The second part is the communications automation. And communications automation is what most people think about when they think about marketing automation. It's about creating workflows. The previous speaker said we create a workflow of emails. It could be possible. It could be even more simple. I go to your website, fill in a form, you send me a white paper, something like that. That's automating the communications. And the third part is data automation. When we're doing all different campaigns in an automated way, we're getting a lot of data back. And a way that we manage, interpret, and use this data, and what I like to always call it, make it actionable, making the data actionable and use it for something else, that is automating the data process. And most marketing automation projects that we do is a combination of process, of communications, and of data. Sometimes it's a little bit more process, sometimes a little bit more data, but in essence, this is what your project will be a little bit more about. Now, I didn't come to you to talk about the definition of marketing automation, a room full of marketing automation specialists. I think we know what you're all talking about. I'm going to talk to you about the problems and the challenges. And I'm just going to dive right into what I think is the biggest problem in marketing automation. What I think the biggest problem in marketing automation is false expectations. I just gave you a question. I just gave you the 7% at the beginning of the presentation, the 7% who failed. I'm just going to ask a question here to get an idea. Who here, when we're all doing marketing automation projects, who here, their marketing automation project delivered results and went exactly the way that it went? What's projected? Who here? Nobody. Nobody. When I ask the question, how did your marketing automation project go? There's nobody here who can say to me it went exactly smooth. And on the other hand, when I read about marketing automation, and probably also today, I read about success cases, and I read about wins. I read about you can double, triple, or quadruple your revenue with marketing automation. I hear about how easy it is to implement technology. You just got to do it and get started. But when I ask the question, to every marketeer here, is it this case for you? Nobody answers positively. And I thought that's a challenge. And what I did is I want to do a little more research about this one. And I started off my research about these false expectations in my own inbox. Because I think a lot of the false expectations, they start off from trends, from so-called trends about marketing automation. And Why can I do the research about in my own inbox? Well, simply, I don't delete my emails. So when I scroll all the way back to 2008, I can see the very first email that I sent or received from my business account. So this is what I did. I scrolled all the way down to my inbox and scrolled all the way back up. I can say this right here because my IT manager is not here. I already have gigabytes of emails sitting at my computer. That's not probably the best way to do it. But what I did, started back from 2008, and I just saw all of those different emails about topics and about trends, and I put them on a timeline. And starting in 2008, everything was about email personalization. And I'm not talking about dear first name. I'm talking about this type of content to that person, or this type of content to that person. Or to give it a really stigmatic example, a blue banner to a male, a pink banner to a female, something like that. It's not the best example. That was the trends we're talking about in 2008. And this evolved into event-triggered marketing. Event-triggered marketing is, in fact, one trigger triggering another event. Simple example, go to your website, fill in the form, you send me a link for the download for a white paper. One event triggering one other event. This evolved into rule-based marketing, where they said, we're not going to do the one events, no, we're going to create if and then queries. If your data says this, we're going to send version A, otherwise we're going to send version B. And this evolved into more data-driven marketing, because we had more data at hand, and we could say, okay, we can create a lot more queries. We're going to do if, then, else, 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 else. We could create this one. This evolved into machine learning, where they said, okay, there are so much data available that we're going to need a machine to learn us all of those if, then, else, else queries, and they're so long that we need computer technology to realize this. And at this moment now, we're talking about artificial intelligence, where we say, there's so much data available that we can't even define our own challenge anymore, and artificial intelligence will solve this problem for us. I'm going to ask another question here. And I know a lot of you will be doing email marketing here. So I want you to be brutally honest with me, otherwise it won't work. Who here, hand on the heart, can say that every campaign, every email campaign that they send out is completely personalized, hyper-personalized? Also nobody. There's nobody here who can say, we were talking about this in 2008. All emails need to be personalized according to the preferences of your receiver. Again, more than 11 years later, when I asked to a set of marketers right here, who here does all the email personalization? Nobody does it. And I thought, that's a bit worrying. But again, this is just research from my inbox. It's not empirically correct. Is there somebody who can do this better? And I researched a little bit more, and I came to Gartner. You probably know Gartner. Who here knows the Gartner hype cycle? Couple of persons? Okay, I'll explain the Gartner hype cycle. So what Gartner does, every 2 years, Gartner assembles all the latest trends in technology, in marketing technology, and all the latest trends in marketing strategy, and they put it on a hype cycle. And the hype cycle of Gartner consists of 5 stages. So the first stage is the innovation trigger, which means something is new, it's getting a lot of attention, and everybody's expectations are skyrocketing. And it reaches the peak of expectations, which means there are some success cases, everybody's talking about we need to do this, but there are also the first failed cases are being to be communicated. And this evolves into the truth disillusionment, meaning it's not living up to the initial expectation that being set forward. And the truth disillusionment, it goes into the slope of enlightenment. And this is what Gartner uses, one of the best or beautiful English words. They use encrystalment. They say it's becoming a little bit more clear to us how to use this technology until it reaches the plateau of productivity, meaning that every marketeer can use it and it's generating a positive ROI. Gartner does not say anything about how successful it is. They don't say if it's good or bad. They just say, where is it right now on the Gartner hype cycle? To give you a small example, Google Glass skyrocketed, went through the truth disillusionment, and now we're in the slope of enlightenment where they can start to understand, maybe in retail or maybe in logistics, we can use this to scam products, for instance, like that. Quick example. And what I did is I took these trends and I looked them up on the Gartner hype cycle. Artificial intelligence, currently at the top of expectations. According to Gartner, it will take up to 10 years before it will reach the plateau of productivity. Machine learning and data-driven marketing, already entering the trough of disillusionment, meaning according to Gartner, it will take 5 to 10 years before it will reach the plateau of productivity. Rule-based and triggered marketing, 2 to 5 years before it will reach a plateau of productivity. And my friends, simple email personalization. According to Gartner, it will take 1 to 2 years before it will reach the plateau of productivity. Yeah, you'll probably not take pictures of me, I guess. Okay, but this is Gartner. Gartner, large company, big market, US. I wanted to do something for a small market. And for instance, the Belgian market is a small market. And in fact, it's quite comparable to the Swedish market. We have roughly the same economy, roughly the same amount of people here, so I think could be interesting. And a couple of 2 years ago, we did a research in Belgium about marketing automation. And what I wanted to know is, I wanted to ask directly to those marketeers about all of this stuff, about trends and stuff like that. I wanted to ask what are currently brands doing with marketing automation. So we sent out a survey. We went to events like this. We even created our own marketing automation day, for instance. Really funny because the name is matching. We went to other events. We did an online survey, and we reached almost 400 marketeers in the Benelux. And I'll share some of the insights with that. 40% did not use any marketing automation. And we said, you can use marketing automation in a broad sense. For instance, if you're triggering flows or something or analyzing data, that's fine, that's marketing automation to us, you can do it. 40% does not use marketing automation. 63% had a marketing automation plan. I was so happy with that number because the last presentations from 2015 to 2017 that I gave were about you need to create a marketing automation plan. So I thought, yes, people were listening to this one, and they're creating marketing automation plans, but they're not working. 77% experienced no to slight impact when implementing marketing automation. And when we asked them about, okay, what type of marketing automation do you do? 41% said we only automate email marketing. That's the basis for automation. And when I show this slide to marketeers, they say to me, marketing automation is more than just email marketing automation. They're absolutely right. You can do on and offline marketing automation, multi-channel and stuff like that. We also asked that question to the same audience. 3%. 3% uses multi-channel marketing automation at this moment. Now, where do I want to go to with a very long story? From my own research, Gartner study, and our own RAAC survey, theory and practice about marketing automation are running at different speeds. So the theory, what you can do with it, and what people are actually doing, those are running at different speeds. Now, I promise you I will address the challenges, but I also want to give you an idea on how you as a marketeer could solve this. Now, how can you solve false expectations? Well, I think we need to manage expectations. And how do you manage expectations? I think we need to be a lot more critical to the stuff that we read and the stuff that we hear. And I'll give you a couple of real-life examples that probably some of you will already have encountered with. For instance, these guys. These are graphs that consultants bring to different brands, and they say, if you're not doing marketing, too soon. If you're not doing marketing automation, this will happen to your brand. And these are the consultants. In 2008, they were saying this about email marketing. And then they were saying this about social media. And last year, they were saying this about GDPR, of course. If you don't do it, it will go down. Now they're saying about artificial intelligence. If you don't do it, it will go down. And the fun part is, those consultants are always the same people. So they're the same people from who are saying email marketing or social media or whatever. So what these guys are, they're not practitioners. They just read the stuff online, they read all of those trends, and they reproduce it in a consulting way, but they don't bring actual value to a lot of brands. We need to be careful for those types of consultants who don't have the hands-on experience. It's not always consultants, also agencies. Agencies can do that. They tilt numbers the same way and to make it look good. And that's something that I just encountered a couple of months ago. There was an agency, and they said, yeah, we have a proposition, and we can increase your email marketing, your open rates from 40 to 60%, and from click-through from 20 to 30%. I promise you here today, call me tomorrow, I will do exactly the same thing. I took a deep dive in what they actually offered, and what they did is they segmented the database of an existing company. And what they did is they took all of the inactives out, all of the bounces, all of the unsubscribes. They took 10% of the active database, they sent out a campaign, and in percentages, it went from 40 to 60%. But when we look at the values, it actually went down. So we need to be wary about these people, because it's often not exactly correct. Anybody here from HubSpot? No? Then I can go hard. Who here has seen this ad? No? Not running here? This is an ad from HubSpot CRM. Let me read it for you. The CRM that takes 25 seconds to set up, but saves up to 124 hours a year. Who here has set up their CRM in 25 seconds? 25 minutes? Days? Weeks. We're starting to get there. And we're all laughing about the crazy orange guy in the US with the fake news. This is fake advertising to me. This is over-promising something. And I know 25 seconds they talk about you can create an account, but they create the illusion that you create the account and everything goes really simple. No, creating an account is the beginning, and then the hard work stuff, the mapping of the data and stuff like that, but they don't talk about that. Or this one. I saw a demo of a technology vendor just a couple of weeks ago, and the guy said, we're not going to talk about marketing automation anymore, we're going to talk about Automagical. I almost threw the guy out of the window. There is no such thing as Automagical. Marketing automation are predefined rules of a human being saying different actions and reactions, or an algorithm who defines other actions. There's nothing automagical about, but it creates the illusion that's really simple. Or this one, editors. Who here has ever seen a demo of technology? A demo, any demo, Salesforce, HubSpot, whatever. All right, okay, cool. Who here, the demo looked really good? Okay, cool. And who here, when they started using the technology, it worked exactly like the demo? Nobody. Same time, every time. Yes, drag and drop the editors. They look really cool. Up, you create a campaign, create a visual, you put some content in there, and your email is ready. The hard work of the campaign is creating the content, is creating the visuals, is creating the strategy behind it, putting it together in a simple editor. That's easy, but that's 10% of the work. Or the last one, drag and drop flows. I grabbed this image from a Belgian vendor, and he demoed it to me. You can say, oh, you can just grab a database and a campaign and a landing page and a trigger. Yeah, looks good in demo, and then you start working with it. Oh shit, that data is stored in another platform. I have to write an API to that. Oh, it doesn't support APIs to that. We're going to need another way to do it. That's the nice part. That's where the technology vendors trick you to buy their software. The hard work is stored somewhere else. Now, to make a long story short, I have nothing against vendors or consultants or against agents and stuff like that, but I really want to urge marketeers to be critical. Be critical about what you read, be critical about what the people tell you, be critical about use cases who are over-promising, because in most times it's just not the reality. Second problem, there's no problem. Kind of a tricky one. I encountered this one just last summer, because I was talking to a really cool company, and what they did, they're an online company, and they put together garden packages. As you probably know, this summer and the previous summer before that, it was very dry. A lot of gardens and lawns that turned completely yellow. It didn't look so good. And those guys, they create a sort of a packaging solution to make your garden green again. All you had to do is take a picture of your garden, send in the measurements of your garden, and they will put together a package. Some seeds, some fertilizer, some equipment, whatever it is. And they said, yeah, we put it together, and we've invested in marketing automation, but the results are not so good. Okay, so went over there, and we go in depth, and we had to look at their automation flows. It looked something like this. So you take a picture, you send in when you take the picture and the measurements, you land in a database, they send you an offer. Depending if you convert on the offer, they send you a confirmation, other retargeting, or if you didn't click, another type of retargeting. And they put even an extra over there. If you didn't convert on those types of emails, they send out some extra emails to convert you on this one. Basic automation flow looks very good. The results, 60% open rate, 52.4% click to open rate, and a whopping 12.2 conversion rate. I know some people who can claim a 12.2 conversion rate, they will get a holiday for the next year or something, because it's really high. Now, where's the problem? The problem lies in the fact, in the same thing that we were just laughing about 10 minutes ago. We were looking at the percentages. We need to look at the values. And the values told another story. Because only 874 people, they created an offer, which means 531 opens, 278 clicks, and 34 conversions. And when I asked them, okay, what is your average order value? It's 178 euros. Times 34, 6,000 euros. That's quite low. But the solution here is not in the marketing automation flow. The solution is in getting as much people in the automation flow. Because if you can scale this up to 5, 10, 20,000 people with the same running costs, we will get a lot higher revenues. Now, how do you need to do this? Well, you need an acquisition strategy for this one. An acquisition strategy, when you Google it, you'll get a lot of ideas. Again, I love simplicity. This is a good acquisition strategy. It means that you're acquiring data on 4 levels. On the physical level, always on and digital, and on the digital level, always on and campaigns. Sorry about that. I'll give you some really quick examples. Physical, always on. For instance, you have a store, at the checkout, place an iPad where people can fill in their data. That's always on generation of data. Or create a campaign where you put a voucher there, you have to register online, so you're generating data. In a digital way, always on, I already gave the example for the white paper download, something like that. A form where people can download the white paper, generating data, or a lead card campaign on Facebook where you invest some in media to generate data. Basically, this is what a good acquisition strategy consists about. Now, if we take it a step further, we need to also set up an acquisition dashboard. And acquisition dashboards are quite easy. And we already did this effectively with one of our clients. What we did is we took off the 4 specific acquisition possibilities, and we mapped all of the flows and all of the campaigns on that dashboard. And we just asked ourselves 3 questions. How much traffic is it bringing us? What are the conversion rates? And how much does it cost? Acquisition dashboards shouldn't be complexer than this. And what we're looking for as marketeers, high traffic, high conversion, low cost. Those are the ones you need to be looking for. Or as a marketer, if you need to prove your budget or you need to convince your boss, show this and say, I have a landing page which is high converting, is low traffic, and is low in costs. So we need to invest and build the traffic on that page. That's what the simple acquisition dashboard looks like. Nothing more, nothing less than that one. And with the ground rule, contact value needs to be higher than your cost per acquisition. Marketing can be so simple sometimes. All right, 3rd problem, I need to speed it up probably a little bit. Too complex, too fast. This is the problem I get, I think, on a monthly basis. I go and talk to new possible clients, and they give me their wish list. And I love to hear about the wish lists, of course. And often it goes something like this. Currently, we don't have anything, and within 2 weeks, I want everything set up with an AI engine and data coming in. That's about the briefing that we get sometimes. And what we then say, okay, I think we're going a little bit too complex, too fast, and let me prove it to you. Because if I want to prove too complex, too fast, I show them this graph. On the horizontal axis, we have the level of personalization. And basically, we could say we could go from mass to segmented to personalized communication. Those are the 3 stages of personalization. So this is what we, if we want to go personalized, we're going to need a lot more content to do this. And on the vertical axis, we have all of the other data touch points. So we have data that could offer us more content personalization. We have, I need to look at it. We have channels for other types of content we need to create. And we have versions of content to create all the different choices. And we look at the resources. Resources go like this. They go exponentially up. So the more personalized with a higher number of choices, your resources will skyrocket. How do resources evolve? Like this. Which means this is your production gap. So I show this, I talk about this to the, when I show this presentation to the guys who are giving us a briefing which is going too complex, too fast, I give them all the same ideas like this, personalization and choice, you have to be worried, don't do it. And a couple of weeks ago, there was a guy who said, Tim, you probably don't know this, but AI can create content for us. Okay, and if AI can create content for us, our resources will go all the way down. Okay, so he said AI will fix this. And I thought, interesting. But I'm going to check it for myself. So what I did is I created a license on two so-called content creation AI tools, Articuno and AI Writer. Articuno heard a little bit about, AI Writer didn't really hear about. But I thought from the plateau of productivity. So I don't want to put heavy investment in this. I want to take an off-the-shelf tool which can help me create content from AI. And I said to the tool, write me an article about marketing automation. And I fed it some data, so I gave it some of our own content from external content and stuff like that, and it generated an article for me. You want to see the results? Market automation is a hot topic because more and more B2B marketers are using this technology to generate more and more and better results, improve marketing efficiency, and increase conversion rates. Okay, need some copywriting. Sounds good. The most commonly used performance indicators to measure ROI are response indicators on databases. I have no idea what they're talking about. I don't know what response indicators on databases are. And it goes even worse. At a certain point, I read Eric 1982, Jordan, do you have an exhaustive marketing automation vendor? Which was obviously scraped from a forum somewhere. Or the last one, and I was asking for an English article, I got bezoeker ervaren knows, I don't know what this is. So is this off-the-shelf product ready to just create my content, push it online? If our clients read this, I will get calls saying you've gone mad. So I'm a little bit weary about AI technology. Now, how do we fix this? If you want a lot at once, well, we need to go for the low-hanging fruit. Now, the low-hanging fruit is the only buzzword in my presentation I'm going to give, but it's true. What clients ask us, how do we discover low-hanging fruit? Well, I'll give you a simple methodology on how to do this. Basically, what you can say, this is your marketing funnel. Everybody knows it. Usually, it's horizontal. I put it on a vertical axis on this one. And what we as a marketeer want to do, we want to get people through the marketing funnel, and we use all of different campaigns and flows to get them through the funnel. So that's the idea. And what we did with the client is we put this funnel together, and we mapped all of their efforts out. And then we asked 6 simple questions: timing, urgency, impact, sustainability, and resources. Timing, if we would set up this automation flow, how long would it take us to do this? Urgency, how urgent is it that we need to set it up? Sustainability, if we set it up now, will it still be active in 2 years, or it's only does it have a lifespan of 1 month or 2 months? Resources, how much time, budget, and energy would it cost to set it up? And we took simple numbers from 1 to 5, 1 to 10, 1 to 100, you can pick for yourself. And we said, okay, 1 is low, 5 is high. And we addressed all of these different numbers to all different tactics. And we sent out this sheet to everybody involved in the marketing automation project. And we took all of the average numbers on this one. Where is your low-hanging fruit? There's your low-hanging fruit. Where we all together said, based on these parameters, these are the highest ones. Okay, we need to focus on these ones right now. For instance, if you need to report to management, you can call this a balanced scorecard. That's management language, so it's really cool. And the last one, you've lost the big picture, the big data picture. And how do I know as a marketeer that you're completely lost? Well, I know that you're strategically lost when I ask you the question, why are you doing market automation? And you can't give me an answer, I know you're strategically lost. And often I get a good answer, but when I ask somebody, okay, how are you going to do it? If you can't answer me that question, it means you're tactically lost. So how do we solve these two? Well, first one, we need to map out our strategy. That, unfortunately, that's an whole other presentation, which is all the way about strategy, but I'm going to show you the one simple trick that we use, and it's called get to buy. I didn't really came up with it, it's one of our clients who came up with it. And one of our clients is Unilever. And they say, Tim, really cool that you give us all presentation about strategy, really fine, but tell me the strategy in one sentence. And the first time that they said it, I was like, how am I going to do this? And they said, okay, you need 3 words, get to and buy. Get, who is your target audience? 2, what do you want them to do? Buy, how are you going to do it? Basically, that summarizes every strategy that you want to do. Now, often I present this to clients and I say, okay, brief me in a one-sentence strategy. A couple of times ago, there was one of our clients who said, okay, I want to get everyone to buy my product by doing marketing automation. That's not the idea, of course. That's not what I want to reach. But I'm going to give you a simple example from one of our other clients, which is Brussels Airlines. That's our national airline company. And you know, airline companies, they're on heavy stress, margins are super low, competition is super heavy. And they said, okay, we want to roll out a strategy which is focused around increasing customer value after somebody has purchased an airline ticket. And if you summarize that strategy in the get-to-buy principle, we can say we want to get customers who have recently booked a flight to increase their customer value and total booking value by we're going to trigger relevant promos depending on the amount of days before their takeoff. Get to buy. This is the essence of the strategy, and all the rest is detail. But if you tell this to somebody, and if somebody asks you, why are you doing market automation? One sentence, and it's really clear what you want to do. Now, for the details on that one, I'll probably have to come back next year, so that's an invitation for myself, what I'm doing right now. If you want to talk about the tactics, that's another thing. Because tactics involves a little bit more engineering. And the problem with us as marketeers is that we want to be the engineer. We want to be the architect. We want to be the guy who created the automation flow. But in most cases, we need to be the reverse engineer. It means we have to work back to make sure that we understand what is happening at the company before we create some new steps. And reverse engineering a plan is not really fun, but you can do it in simple 4 steps. The 4 steps are going like this. So the first one is really simple. You have to map out your platforms. For instance, you have an ERP system, you have a CRM system, and you have a market automation platform. These are the platforms, this is the tech stack that you're using. That's easy. Secondly, you need to look at which data is in each platform. Simple, it's mapping fields. Nothing more than that. Which data is stored into which platforms. And then we need to have a look at our assets. Which assets are we using in digital communication? For instance, it could be we have a website, we have a landing page, we have an e-commerce site. It could be that we're running some ads, so we have a Google ad server, or we're doing retargeting from one basis. We could also be sending some direct communication. We're sending out email campaigns, SMS, WhatsApp campaigns, and we're doing stuff on social. So this is your ecosystem that you as a company will be using. What we then need to look at is where are the bridges creating between the assets and the platforms. And probably you get something like this. Some data from your site is coming into your CRM. And your CRM is pushing stuff to your ad server. And your market automation platform is sending out email campaigns and SMS campaigns. And your social data is linked back to your CRM. And your platforms in your CRM and your ERPs are all communicating. And then at a certain point, this happens. You don't know what is connecting to what. For instance, somebody In 2014, they connected this email to social, and then there was a guy in 2017 who linked the site directly to your marketing automation platform, and it's just a complete mess that you want to go into. But once you map this out, you have two choices. You can adapt the existing structure, or you can work for a new structure. Adapting the existing structure is complex, and it's not a fun assignment. When we were asked to do this for clients, we don't like to do it ourselves because it's really time-consuming and not very rewarding, to say it like that. But it means it's tearing up the entire ecosystem and one by one putting it back together. And what is a trend that we've seen the last couple of years? There are companies and brands who are building a complete new setup next to their existing setup. Why? The legacy IT, that's a nice word that they call it, has become so complex that they say, I'm not going to start with that one, I'm going to take something fresh, and I'm going to work from there. For instance, the previous presentation, it was a startup, and they have a lot more choice on to build. They don't have to take legacy IT into account, so they have sometimes an advantage versus big companies. And how does a good setup look like? Your ERP needs to be out of your CRM and your platform, always. And your CRM and your platform, they push your communication channels. Nothing more complex than that. That's the ground rule that you need to take into account. Again, it's so easy for me to come here and put it on slides and say you have to do it like that. I know it's easy. I understand when you have to do it in practice, it's hard work and it's a big project. But if you get this right, this is the base for all marketing automation wins and triple revenues and stuff like that. You need to get this right first. To wrap it up, manage expectations. Don't believe everything that people tell you, especially when it's about new trends like AI. An acquisition strategy is super simple. You can have the best converting automation workflows. If nobody's going through the data, it won't work. Go for the low-hanging fruit. So make sure to get management buy-in by using a weighted balanced scorecard. And lastly, map out your strategy and tactics to make sure to get a solid proof plan about this. I hope it's been interesting to you. If you want to get in touch with me, come talk to me, send me an email, whatever. Thank you very much.